Hey guys, what's going on? Erik Cortina here. So as you guys know, we've been doing the F-Class reloading series, and I just realized there's so much stuff that I haven't covered, and I'm afraid that if I just keep going through this reloading series, you guys are gonna miss a lot, or you're not gonna understand a lot of it, because there's so much that I haven't covered. I don't know how much you know, because I mean, you guys are all kind of different levels, so I need to kind of cover a lot of this stuff, you know, for all the kind of the newer guys. I need to cover all this stuff, and then even the very experienced guys, I'm sure maybe you guys can find some of this stuff helpful. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. Last time we talked to Jim Borden about actions and what makes them pretty much accurate, and I was about to start reaming, or I was going to chamber my barrel for my I don't know that I want to tell you what it is yet. But anyway, I'm gonna start doing that pretty soon, and I just want to make sure that you guys understand all this stuff before I jump into that, okay? Because again, I just want to make sure you guys understand all of this. So anyway, enough of that long ass intro. Let's get into it. So today we're going to cover reading reamer prints. This is something that a lot of people don't understand or don't know how to do, and guess what? We're going to talk about that today. All right, so this one right here, this is a 6.5 by 47 Lapua, okay, right here. This is their CIP reamer. If you look down here where it says designer, it says CIP. Right away, you know, this is kind of where you start. You're gonna go back here. This is the bolt face. This is what's gonna be touching the back of the case, or this is the back of the case that's gonna touch the bolt face, okay? All the dimensions are going to be from there. This right here is what's called the 200 line, and the reason it's called the 200 line is because of that. The case and your chamber is not fully captured in the chamber. There's some of it sticking out the back, and that's the portion that's going to go in your bolt, right? It fits inside your bolt. So that's why about 200 thousandths of the case is not supported. That's the reason the back of the case is so thick. And again, that's where, you know, the bolt needs to go. So the case goes in the barrel, right? And then the 200 thousandths or so that sticks out, some of it goes in the bolt, and some of it is just kind of there with no support whatsoever. And but anyway, so that's kind of why they do the 200 line. Your case is going to go inside your bolt about 125 to 135 thousandths, somewhere along those lines, and that's going to be the, you know, that's going to be the portion that is unsupported. That's why they do the 200 line. This is the diameter of the 200 line is 471.7, at least for this cartridge, okay? So the back of your chamber should measure pretty close to that. So again, these are important numbers that you need to know, so that whenever you get a chamber done, you know, you can take some rough measurements. It's going to be really hard to measure with calipers, but hey, it's better than nothing, right? This is how I found a bad chamber. I had a chamber that, you know, I never checked it, and when I got it, it just didn't work properly. I fired the brass, everything worked fine. When I went to go resize my brass, it was really tight to resize, and then once I, you know, it would fit in the gun, but then once I fired it, it was really hard to extract. So I knew something was wrong. Well, guess what? I went to go measure, and I realized the back of the case, or the back of the chamber, was about 10 thousandths too big. So it was really easy to figure out what the problem was, because it was so oversized. So anyway, this dimension right here was too big in that chamber, and it was, you know, easy to spot. So anyway, those are some of the things that you can measure. Obviously you're not going to be able to measure in here. This is your shoulder diameter. In this case it's 479 or 457.9. Obviously in the print it doesn't show, but this case, well, that was not very good. Let's try it again. This case has come on. Well, I'm trying to do a straight line, but this case is tapered. Okay, I'm going to exaggerate. It's gonna, dang it, it's gonna be tapered like this. Again, I'm exaggerating. Okay, and again the diameter here is 457.9. Let's call it 458. Okay, and down here is 471.7. So let's call it 472. So 458. So we have 14 thousandths of taper on this 46.5 by 47. That's quite a bit of taper on such a short distance, but you know, that's what it is. But anyway, that's so it's, you know, that's a taper. This is the diameter of the shoulder. This is the diameter at the 200 line. The diameter here at the very base, it almost doesn't matter because you're not gonna have a chamber that extends that far. Okay. Okay, right here, this tells us that it has a 30-degree shoulder. Okay, so yeah, the 6.5 by 47 has a 30-degree shoulder. Also, the thing that we find out by looking at this thing is this dimension right here, D, right here. Okay, and if you look down here, this is the only dimension that has a minimum. It says min and max, but it doesn't actually give you the min or the max. And that is, this is a reamer print. This is a print for how the reamer is going to be made. This is not a chamber reamer, or okay, this is not a chamber print as to what it's supposed to be. Okay, I'm gonna touch on that here shortly, but anyway, so that's what this is. This is why it gives you min and max. Min and max is going to be your go gauge and your no go gauge. Okay, so anyway, that's what this is here. So what is this? Well, this is where you're going to measure your headspace to. Okay, this dimension right here. So if you're looking for the insert that you need to measure your headspace for your 6.5 by 47 Lapua or 6 by 47 or any of the 47 family, then you're going to need a 330 right here. Okay, so this is, you know, the dimension that you will need for that. On the right here, this dimension right here, this is going to be your maximum dimension. This is your case length. Again, this is not a chamber print. This is a reamer print. This is how the reamer is going to be cut. Okay, so again, this is 1.866, so that is about 47 millimeters. Okay, because this 6.5 by 47. So in Europe, the way they kind of do cartridges, the 6.5 is the diameter of the bullet, and the 47, the second number, is how long the case is from here to here, which is this dimension right here. Okay, so that's pretty much what it means in in the European cartridges. Here we have cartridges that are just named whatever, like the I don't know, 6.5 Creedmoor. It just tells you the bullet diameter, but it doesn't tell you how long the case is. But the 47 6.5 by 47, well, it's 47 millimeters long. What else? Okay, let's get into the neck. And this one is actually pretty interesting, and some of you guys may not realize this. So the C dimension right here, that is your neck diameter. Okay, but if you look at your H dimension, it's also your neck diameter right here, and you will notice that they are different. The one in the front is smaller than the one in the back. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means we actually have a tapered neck in the chamber. Why do they do that? I have no idea. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know why they do that, but it is tapered. Now, how much should we have, right? So for example, looking at your reamer, this is the reamer print. This is a 292, right, in the front. Well, I know for a 6.5 or 47 loaded round, it's about 290. So that leaves us very little clearance. That is a lot less than what I am comfortable with. I like 5 to 6 thousandths, to be honest with you. So this is something that if I was gonna have a 6.5 by 47 Lapua reamer made, I would have them make it about 295 or 296. Again, what I would do is I would take a loaded round and then just measure, you know, the loaded neck diameter, and then I would just pretty much add 5 thousandths to that. You can add up to 6, or you know, 5.5 or whatever. Just somewhere in there, you're gonna be pretty good. This one, in my opinion, is a little too snug, but you know, obviously it's hard to argue with 6.5 by 47. A lot of people, even myself, have had really good results with the 6.5 by 47. But anyway, just personal preference. That's what I would change. But this is where you start. You know, you wanna modify a cartridge, or you kind of want to make some modifications for yourself. Well, you know, you start with a reamer print, and then you kind of, you know, you measure your dummy round, and then you start measuring against the reamer, and then you can start making some changes. This 45-degree angle right here, there is a transition between the end of the case and where the freebore starts, and that is a 45-degree angle like we see here. So that's all that is, right? There's a small transition right here from, you know, from the case, or from the reamer or the chamber neck to the freebore. All right, what is freebore? Well, let's look at the freebore. The freebore area is this area right here. That is the area where it is oversized. The rifling is actually cut away just enough for the bullet to sit in there without engaging the rifling. Okay, that just allows us to see the bullet further out. Well, what is that dimension? Well, in this case, it is from here to here. Okay, from this dimension to this dimension. Okay, and if we follow the line down here, it's going to be this one right here, which is U plus V. So this reamer has 163.4. So 163.4, I call it in 4/10,000. So 163.5 roughly thousandths of freebore. Okay. The lead is this number right here. So this number right here, that tells us this number tells us what the freebore is, plus that 45-degree transition from the neck, or from the, yeah, I guess from the mouth of the neck to the freebore. So if you add them both together, that's what you end up with. But whenever we talk about freebore, we're going to be talking about this dimension right here, the 163.4. So this one, you know, has 163 thousandths freebore. So this is where, again, you can play around, and then you can say, well, you know what, I never like crazy numbers like this. If I was to add, you know, order this reamer, the things that I would change is I would change obviously the neck diameter. I'd probably go with like 295 or so. I'm just going off the top of my head, but again, I would go about 5 to 6 thousandths larger than the loaded neck diameter. And then if I'm happy with the freebore, I would probably change it to a 165, you know, even. I wouldn't do this 163.4 thing, but anyway, it's your preference. And then from there we go on to the freebore diameter. Freebore diameter is right here, 264.6. So it's 6/10,000ths larger than your bullet diameter. You guys know, or I'm sure I've said this already, I don't I don't check run out. I've tested it. I've had no issues with run out. I mean, I have not seen it that it affects accuracy. Okay, at least not in my tests. The reason for that, I believe, is because the bullet diameter is, again, it's, let's just say in this case 264, and the free bore is 264.6. That only leaves 3/10,000ths of an inch on each side. So there is really no way you can get the, you know, that bullet in there sideways. It's gonna straighten out. So if you have more than 3/10,000ths of an inch worth of run out, once you chamber it, it's gonna straighten out. There is, I mean, you absolutely cannot put a bullet in there sideways. You know, you can't. It's a very snug fit. So I think that is the reason why run out doesn't really matter. Having said that, here's a big ass disclaimer. I have talked to some benchers guys, and they tell me in their tests it does matter. Okay, well, I think the reason for that is they have, see, we have pretty generous freebore, you know, 163,000. Some of those benchers guns, they're shooting flat base bullets and all that, you know, all that good stuff. They have very little freebore, and I think because they have almost no freebore, the bullet has no room or no place in there for it to get straightened out. They just put it in there, and you know, if it's a little sideways, it's gonna be a little sideways. But for us, because we're shooting long bow tail bullets, you know, most of our freebores are pretty long, which I think fixes any run out issues. That's another reason I like long freebores. I want that bullet to sit in there and just let the freebore handle the straightness. But anyway, that's just an observation that I've had based on the testing that I've done. But I think that's the reason that in our long range rifles, run out doesn't really matter. That is the freebore area, and then of course from there, once you know we go past the freebore, then it starts to taper in like this. And that angle right there is 1 degree 30. That is a pretty standard angle at which the freebore transitions over to the rifling. There has been a lot of testing with different, you know, different freebores, different freebore angles, you know, the bore rider and all those other things that, you know, different people have tried. But you know, it's, I don't know how much it helps. At some point everything burns away, which you know, I don't know that it helps. But anyway, I mean, you're free to experiment with any of these numbers. Now again, this is your reamer print. You know, you can fire your brass in your chamber, and when you pull it out, then you can measure this dimension. These are the main dimensions that I measure. This, you know, the neck, the shoulder, and the 200 line. Remember, this is the 200 line. So from the base of the case right here, you're going to move up about 200 thousandths, and that's where you're going to measure, and you're going to look at this number. Okay, so you obviously want your case when it comes out of the chamber to be smaller than all these dimensions, or pretty close to it. It should be smaller because of spring back. Okay, once you size your brass, you're going to measure again, and you for sure want all these dimensions to be smaller after you size your brass. Okay, every single one of these needs to be smaller. How much smaller? Well, that depends on your die. On my shoulder right here, when I spec a reamer, I usually spec about 3 to 4,000 smaller at the shoulder, and I like to spec about 4,000 smaller at the base. I want that brass to get sized, because remember, we're gonna have spring back, so I want it to get sized pretty good because of the spring back, and I just want that case to fit inside the chamber pretty well. I don't want to have to, you know, have issues with, you know, extraction, because that will happen. If you have a chamber that's too tight, especially here at the base, it's going to give you extraction issues. And remember, you cannot anneal the base. So once you lose it, it's gone. You lost it. Once you start getting the click at the top of the bolt, when you open your bolt, you're done. You know, you can try a small base die or any of those things, but you know, you're gonna have issues. So make sure that die sizes the base enough. All right, so I posted this link the other day. You can go to sammy.org, and then you can go down here and you can select rifle, and then actually I'm gonna back up right quick. So sammy.org, cartridge and chamber drawings right here. Then you go down to rifle, and then of course you get this this file right here, or this big, you know, resource. And this again, I posted a link on this a couple of days ago, but you're gonna have a lot of the SAMI. I think they're all in here. Any SAMI chamber is gonna be in here. The 6.5x47, it is not a SAMI spec, it is a CIP, but if it is if you have a SAMI, you can find it here. Okay, you know what, so anyway, here's the link to this, and I'm gonna touch on all these later on a later video, because I'm gonna talk about these are actually chamber prints. The one we're discussing today is a reamer print, and they're different. Okay, so anyway, I just want to remind you that I posted a link to this the other day. Now let's go back to reamer prints. So this one right here again, 6.5x47 Lapua, right? Now let's look at my 6x47 Lapua. Now what is the difference? Well, let's look at it. And of course they misspelled my name. Anyway, so designer is me, right? But look at this comment right here. This is super important. Use standard 6.5x47 Lapua headspace gauges. So that right there tells you that the headspace gauge, or the headspace on a 6x47 Lapua, is going to be the same as a 6x47 Lapua, at least the one that I designed. Okay, a 6x47 Lapua and a 6.5x47 Lapua, the 6mm version and the 6.5, if you're just looking at them, if you just call JGS and say I want a 6x47 Lapua, it's gonna be fairly tight, okay, and it's gonna be different. But in my design, for example, let's look at the base right here. B dimension 471.7. Okay, this is the 6x47. Let's look at the 6.5x47. Same thing. Okay, 471.7. Okay, let's look at the shoulder dimension. This is the, again, 6.5x47. This is 460 and 2/10,000ths. Look at that. This is my 6x47 is identical. Okay, look at the shoulder dimension on here. That was not the shoulder, but this is the shoulder. Your E dimension, 4.579, 4.579. See that? It's identical. So my 6x47 Lapua is identical in body dimensions to the 6.5x47. So technically my 6x47 Lapua is actually a 6.5. What do they call it? Okay, it's technically a 6mm by 6.5x47 Lapua. It is not a true 6x47. The true 6x47 has a tighter neck, has a shorter freebore, and some of the body dimensions have been altered, which I am not okay with. The 6.5x47 Lapua works great. Nobody really has any issues. You can get rating dies right off the shelf. They work great. So that's what I did. I got 6.5x47 Lapua dies, and well, I already had them. All I did was change the bushing. I got me a cedar die and I was done, right? So anyway, so those are some of the things that, you know, keep in mind, you know, on my reamer. And I mean, you're free to do the same thing. I mean, I did this for simplicity. Okay, now on the neck, this is where things change, right? Obviously I have a 275 neck on my reamer, and it is not tapered. Look at this, same dimension, front and back, Okay, everything else is the same. Free bore, we already discussed that. It's this dimension right here. So my free bore is 150 thousandths. Okay, and of course once you add that lead angle right there, it's 165.8, but you know the free bore is 150. Everything else is the same. So as you can see, this is a fairly simple reamer print, or the changes that I made are really simple, but you can do that. You can take any cartridge, for example, if you have a 6mm 284, okay, you just ask them for a 284 reamer print. This is something to keep in mind though. Okay, let me show you. You ask them for a reamer print, but look at this over here where it says basic brass. It says 6.5 by 47 Lapua. Okay, that means it is made for Lapua brass. If you're doing a 284 or a 6.5 284 or any of those cartridges, the reamer prints out there, they're made for different brass manufacturers, and if you change brass manufacturers, you're gonna have issues. Well, it depends which way you go. If the chamber's small and your brass is big, you're gonna have issues. But if you do vice versa, where the brass is small and the chamber's big, then you're gonna be able to get away with it for the most part. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. But for the most part, the dimensions or the changes that you need to make are fairly simple. If you want to, you know, neck a chamber up or down. Okay. But anyway, that's the gist of it. Okay. Over here on the right, this is pretty much, you know, this is just pretty much the blank on the reamer. Nothing else. Pilot size 235/6. That is pretty much just the pilot that they're gonna put on the reamer when they send it. Nothing major, because it has a pilot in the front, so when you chamber it. Bore size 236, pretty standard stuff. Groove size 243. You know, this is all pretty standard stuff. But anyway, that's how you read a reamer print. Pretty basic, really. But you know, I understand some of you guys may not know this. This is why I wanted to do it. Another important thing that you need to order when you order your reamer, if you decide you're gonna have your own reamer, and this is back to where the reason I don't have too many different chamberings, right? Because I have a reamer for each one. I have my go gauge. I have my you know, my headspace gauges. Everything is tailored to that one cartridge. So every time I get a different one, man, I got to start all over with, you know, setting it up the way I like to set it up so that I can measure everything and I know that the dies are set up properly. There's just a lot of work in making sure that a chambering works properly for you. So if you're gonna get your own reamer, you're gonna want a go gauge. Okay, you don't need a no-go gauge. The go gauge, you can simply put tape on the back and that should be plenty. But even if you don't have a reamer, you should at least buy a go gauge. The go gauge is going to allow you to measure your headspace. Okay, every time, so for example, you order a new barrel from your gunsmith and the barrel shows up, and you know, you take the barrel, you drop the go gauge in there and you measure your headspace. Your headspace is from the back of the go gauge to the shoulder on your barrel. So go gauge is here, the back, you drop it in the chamber, the back of the go gauge, from the back of the go gauge to your barrel shoulder, that's your headspace. I just realized I may have to do another video on showing you guys how to measure your headspace. But the point is, if you have a go gauge, you get your chamber back or your barrel back from your gunsmith, drop the go gauge in there and measure your headspace. If anything, it'll tell you how close that barrel is to the last one, and if you need to make any changes, or if it's dead on, you know, if it's longer, shorter, whatever, you know. So you just need all that information, so when you go to size your brass, that you don't size your brass incorrectly. But anyway, that's all I got on this. I mean, it's I don't know, depending on your level, it may seem like a very basic topic, it may seem like a very complicated topic. Either way, I hope you guys learned something from this. I'm gonna chamber a barrel pretty soon. Hopefully tomorrow, day after, I'll have some time to chamber one of my barrels. And I'm still undecided as to what I'm gonna do. Part of me wants to just just tune one of my 284 Shehanes, but I think it would be best if I start with this brand new chambering that I know nothing about, because I think we all could learn more if I go about it that way, because it's not gonna be so it'll be more, I don't want to say complicated, but I think you guys would learn more from watching me develop a brand new cartridge from the get-go. I think that would be more beneficial for you guys. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. I'll probably just do that. But anyway, that's all I have for today. Again, thank you so much for joining me and for your support. I really appreciate it. And leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about this stuff. And hopefully you found this helpful. Alrighty, take care. See ya.